Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB, Zack Brown, and joining with me, as always, is former 410 Sprint Car crew chief and mechanic, my dad, Jeff Brown. Dad, a lot to go over in NASCAR, actually literally every single motorsports that we always go over.
Yeah.
A lot to preview this week. We've got our top 5 coolest trophies to get in motorsports, in our opinion. They'll finish that out at the end. We got fantasy talk about and NASCAR because our fantasies are great. And I mean, I feel like this should just transition, and Mom should just do the segment because she's just running away with it.
Seriously.
But talking about NASCAR at Gateway, and then we actually forgot about it. Xfinity race at Portland, kind of overlooked that, which actually was a hell of a finish. Recapping Gateway, Corey Heim wins the truck race there, and a last lap heartbreak for Ryan Blaney, running out of fuel, coming to the white flag. Austin Cindric takes advantage and wins that race. He put himself in that position, though, to come out victorious in that, and he has been irrelevant the entire year, so it was really random that he was running this well at the entire Fords Penske's were running fantastic at this track. It really was a Penske-Gibbs battle at Gateway is what I saw.
Yeah, it seemed like the Chevys were really struggling there. The Hendrick cars just were not that good. Honestly, it's quite surprising. But from what I was reading, they've been struggling there for the last couple of years. Just have not had the speed that they seem to have every other track, which is weird. It's kind of the track's shaped like Darlington, but it's got longer straightaways. So you would think they'd get around there pretty good, but they were really no good. I mean, I don't know who the top Chevy was. Larson was 10th.
Yeah, Larson was top. I mean, Chase might have been. I can't remember what the finish was.
Yeah,
He was running
he made
fairly
the win
decent all
there.
day. But
Yeah,
yeah, just nothing really competitive. It's weird seeing them not really being. I thought that I saw where they started, and I'm like, oh, they'll work on it, and like they usually do, and
yeah,
they'll kind of come up through. And they really didn't. Byron really struggled, and Kyle Busch got caught up with Larson in a wreck where Larson just got loose. I mean, Kyle wasn't really bitching or complaining about it. He was just like, you could just tell he's like, this is my damn year. Just this is just how this year is gone.
even
And
even Larson said that was just hard, tight racing there. It was
yeah, I mean, he didn't get into Kyle. He got loose going into it, and Kyle had the kind of air taken off of the car, and it just lost control of it. He somehow Larson was able to rebound and get a top 10. So kudos to him, and we'll talk about it later. But he finally gets finishes off May with a win. So hopefully the bad luck streak that he's had these last couple weeks is kind of paid off. Is gone behind him, and the waiver that's the biggest news right now. Kyle Larson officially has gotten a waiver from NASCAR, and he will be able to participate for the championship. Which would have been stupid if they didn't, and it would have been literally rating suicide because Larson has done, and this is coming from Kyle Busch too. Larson's done more for motorsports than literally everybody
yeah,
else, and he's pulling in a whole different crowd. You saw what the crowd, I don't know what the Gateway crowd would have been, but it was packed out as a very, very, I didn't expect that much of a crowd at Gateway, and everybody showed out, and I can almost guarantee over half of the people there were there to see Larson. And I think that's what you're going to continue to see in all these races, whether it's dirt racing, which most people go to see Larson anyways in high limit, or NASCAR racing. And if somehow he gets into an IndyCar before the end of the year, they just throw him in for, I don't know, Iowa or something random. People come out for that. So,
he's
yeah,
got a
very
little bit of
smart.
the Dale Jr. effect going there right now. People just want to.
Yeah, well, it's a smart decision made by NASCAR. Uh, he was acting kind of as an ambassador at the Indy 500, if you will, for NASCAR. So if you want to have a specific reason for why he got the waiver, that's one reason as well. And it's not like he didn't try to get back. They did attempt to get back. And he's still very much, he's only 16 points behind or something for the regular season championship. So it is very doable that he could win the regular season championship. That would have been just dumb if he wins the regular season championship and he just doesn't make the playoffs. So
Yeah,
he's back in, and he's obviously one of the favorites to at least make it to the championship four, if not win the whole thing.
yeah. That's NASCAR really needs to change the wording of that rule. That rule is actually kind of in place for a driver like Kyle Larson, somebody that could come in, win 4, 5, 6 races, but not, then go run other series and still be, you could still technically be in the top 30 in points. It was kind of dumb. Like they gave that to Kyle Busch the first championship year, and he deserved it. I mean, he was hurt. I get that. But you get your guy 30th in points just because he got a win and gets to go the whole way to the championship. That don't seem quite right either. So maybe
Yeah,
I don't know the solution to it. Maybe have some
well,
kind of a
with as much
pass for everybody.
as much press as this has gotten now, and how prominent of a figure Kyle Larson is, and how much media coverage has happened this year, and how much pressure's kind of been put on NASCAR for the waiver. I can almost bet it's something this offseason they look at and possibly tweaking, modernizing. It's been a rule for the longest time, and
they're going to change the wording or something in it.
Yeah, I can guarantee that. But it's something they probably didn't really think about to really change because they haven't had to run into this situation. Well, now they have, so they've got to figure out something, whether it's for bad weather, or it's just if you're acting as an ambassador for NASCAR, which you can technically say Larson was, and you're racing in that race and you're trying to grow the sport in general, something they would, there's people that get paid to do all that wording.
Yeah,
so,
like if it was worded that you have to qualify for the race, which he was qualified, he did that the day before.
That could be too. And
You
you got to have you have to have something in there
or something.
You have to have something in there as well, as like if there's external circumstances that keep you away from the race, i.e. weather, that should also be placed in there too, because you literally can't control what the weather's going to do. But finishing off Gateway, it was kind of a snooze fest for most of the race, but it got really exciting towards the end. The restarts were really good. The longer the runs, it just kind of just got too spread out. Brian Blaney really was the class of the field. He had that race won in the bags.
Well, Christopher Bell actually was probably
Christopher Bell early on, and then the way the pit cycles worked out, Blaney was the fastest. He was pulling. I think he had like a 3-second lead before he ran out of fuel, and that's just heartbreak for him.
Bell was blowing up.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounded like he broke a valve spring on a downshift or something like that.
I'm surprised it didn't go blah. That was actually a big issue there. Because they downshifted up potentially 2 times each corner, going into each corner, going down to third gear, and then obviously upshifting down the straightaways, going back. So when you go from 5th to 3rd every single corner, and that adds up, there's 300 laps. So that definitely adds up.
All it takes is just one misshift, and over rev it, a couple hundred RPM too many. It'll snap those valve springs real quick.
Yeah. So that was definitely a different factor, and you don't see that really at many tracks. I guess you might see it at like New Hampshire, but you don't really see them downshift that many times. Even Phoenix, some drivers don't even downshift going in the corners. Like Larson, he doesn't really downshift too often. At least the last race, he wasn't doing that. Some drivers, it's kind of 50-50 how the drivers do that. Yeah, heartbreak for Ryan Blaney. Saw Keselowski after the race come up and be like, "Hey, man, that sucks. Sorry." He's just consoling him, because you just know that he's just like, "Damn, I had that race won." I'm not, obviously, I don't think anybody's worried that Blaney's not going to make the championship. At the very least, he'll make it on points, but he'll get a win this year. I'm
sure of it.
I can almost guarantee it. But now you have Austin Cindric in the playoffs too, and really, in my opinion, he doesn't really belong in the playoffs. There's a couple drivers that get a win and they don't really belong. They just kind of there, sitting there, taking up space. Suarez, maybe.
But who puts Austin Cindric in their fantasy for that race, except for Mom, and he wins?
Yeah.
So
of course. Yeah. Why wouldn't? All right. Well, let's get into our power rankings, and then we'll preview Sonoma and give our fantasy lineups for Sonoma, then our picks. Let's touch on Portland real quick. Xfinity at Portland. The Aussie, New Zealander, I guess.
Justin Allgaier stunk up the race for most of the
last
restart.
Van Gisbergen, whatever how you pronounce his name, he had probably like a textbook restart at the end.
Yeah.
He timed the corners perfectly, and Allgaier did a lot of rear view mirror driving, if you will, and it just did not work out. He was too worried about what was happening behind him. He should have just started driving the hell out of it and just going, because that's what Van Gisbergen was doing.
But
And
very,
that
very popular win though. Everybody in
oh,
Portland, they
it
were all
was
thrilled to see him win there.
oh, and he seems like a really decent guy, and he's got a new tradition now. He punts a rugby ball now when he wins, so I guess that's a new thing that they're starting up. Now he's locked in the Xfinity playoffs. That was one of the races that he had to take advantage of and try to get a win to get into the playoffs. So that's what his specialty is this road course racing, street racing.
Yeah,
What?
he's been decent on most of the tracks as it is.
He really's had a yeah. I mean, considering that he's had zero experience in NASCAR, he's done fine on the ovals, and I expect possibly one of the charters from Stewart Haas to get added to Trackhouse, and they have a third team. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Actually, before we get into Sun but let's talk about all of that stuff. I mentioned it this week. Bob Pockris was talking about on Fox Sports that he potentially sees that Junior's going to go cup racing. He's heard it from different sources. Has not been confirmed by Junior yet, but they're saying that he may buy two of the charters from Stewart Haas, go cup racing. And I think this is probably a really good time. And here's what I was saying this week. Obviously, Josh Berry and Noah Gragson, they both have ties with Junior. So I think Junior would, if he goes cup racing, he's going to pluck one of those two. I think he's going to be more prone to get Josh Berry than Noah Gragson, in my opinion. He kind of really took Josh under his wing and brought him up from the late models. It would not surprise me if that happens. And conveniently, Martin Truex Jr.'s contract with Joe Gibbs ends this year. Why not put Truex in that cup car for a year, get a team back on its feet, learn how to race in the Cup Series, have that necessary experience you need with Truex, start grooming another driver, likely Carson Kvapil, because he's the next up and coming guy. I see him actually jumping all these guys that's already at Junior Motorsports in Xfinity. As long as he has a decent year next year, I would see Carson Kvapil in 2026 taking over in the Cup Series for Junior. This is all speculation, but I think if that happens, don't be surprised, and then I will get back on here and say I told you guys so.
I was just going to say, do you think they would move Kvapil up before
I do.
the other? I can't even think.
I do. I don't. Obviously,
Sam
I don't think.
Mayer.
Yeah, I think Carson I think he's a better race car driver. I think he's just more natural, talented race car driver than all those guys. I don't think you would see Brandon Jones. He hasn't been solid enough really to make a jump. Really, Sam Mayer hasn't either. He's here and there. He has good runs. I don't think he would suit really in the Cup Series. And Justin, he's older. He could fill in here and there if he needed to. If Truex weren't going to come over, it wouldn't surprise me if Justin went over and was that guy to have that Cup experience too. So we'll see what happens. That's just kind of my 2 cents on all this. Is kind of what I was thinking that could potentially happen. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm excited to see what happens. I hope Junior goes cup racing because I think any of those drivers will naturally be some of the more popular guys in the garage.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And what was the other thing? Oh, I think that does it for actually NASCAR news. There's some other news as well that I happened to see. I'll look at it here in a second. But getting into our power rankings, and then I got a quiz question. This one's a NASCAR quiz question this week. I think we forgot to do it last week. But power rankings, you go ahead and give your top five. I've actually really didn't change too much in mine.
Yeah, mine didn't either. I was at your place last week, so I don't have them written down in my notes. So I'm just gonna go over this week. I know my first few have the only one's different is my number 5, I believe. So at number 5, he was the class of the field till his engine started blowing up. I put Christopher Bell. He looked like he's starting to get kind of rolling here again. Number 4, Joey Logano. He's just kind of one of these guys that's just been slowly creeping in finishes without being very noticeable. Number 3, Brad Keselowski. He's just on a tear right now. That thing's fast. Number 2, I kept Kyle Larson. I mean, he gets into a crash, still manages to come back with a top 10 finish, lead some laps. And number one, I mean, Mr. Consistency right now, Denny Hamlin.
Yep. My top five, it's similar, but at number five, I have the guy that nearly won the race last week, and I think he's starting to get back to a point where he's going
I
to be in
changed that 2 or
contention.
3 times myself.
Yeah, so I've got Ryan Blaney at number five. Number four, he's down a little bit. He's staying in my rankings, though. I've got Chase Elliott. Number three, I've got Kyle Larson. For the same reason, got top 10. He actually went up to number three from five for me. Number two is Brad Keselowski for the same thing. If there's anybody that's as much of a Mr. Consistency as the number one guy, who's, spoiler alerts, Denny. But Brad is the guy being consistent right now. So yeah, Denny Hamlin's still number one, unless I see something otherwise that he just falls off a cliff, like we said earlier in the year with Ryan Blaney. I don't foresee anybody
Anything
overtaking
can
Denny.
happen. All it takes is a couple bad races, and
Yep. But like I said, I don't foresee anything happening for like actual slow races, rather than just bad luck happening. That team's just got it going on right now. All right, so the quiz this week for you, it has to do with Sonoma. Which active driver has the most wins at Sonoma? Simple enough.
Martin Truex.
He does. Do you know how many?
3?
Four.
4. Okay.
He has four. And you know what's crazy enough? The all-time win leader in the Cup Series, Chase Elliott on road courses, does not have a win at Sonoma.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so look for him to be in contention potentially for this, because this is one road course he definitely wants to cross off his winning list, because this is one of the first ones they really had. So it's a very historic one.
Fresh repave.
Yep. So yeah, go ahead and get get into it, and then we'll give our fantasy talk about how this. Well, the drama about this repave is though that the pavement was coming up. They had pictures, and it was starting to literally tear apart a week or two after the fresh, brand new pavement got laid down. I think they fixed all that stuff, but that's still kind of got to be a concern for the drivers when they're actually driving around that thing for what 100 laps, 110 laps, or whatever they have on it.
Yeah, especially with the heavy stock cars, they seem like they're really tough on the tracks, the berms, and everything else. But it should be interesting. Now, this road course is the one they always kind of said races more like a short track. It's not as high speed like at Watkins Glen. But the low info on Sonoma, it's 30 minutes north of the Golden Gate Bridge, 1,600 acre facility with a 2.52 mile. Wow, spell check. Road course that said old cars. So, and a drag strip, which NHRA will be there when they do their Western swing. So that's pretty cool.
Which is right over one of your shoulders.
You can see on the picture behind me, the drag strip just sort of runs right down through the middle of the road course, which is kind of cool. It's an interesting layout how they have it. Some interesting note: Boris said is going to be running the HendrickCars.com number 17 Xfinity.
Yeah,
that's very popular. All the set heads are going to be out with the crazy wigs and everything.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool to see. So it's the repave could be. I don't see it being as big of a deal as like on an oval.
Well,
that's my opinion, but
but one thing they've had here though, they've had strategies with tires, like are you going to take tires and risk it, or now you probably not
going to.
You might take tires once in this race. You might not. I mean, the biggest thing is that the Cup guys are going to watch the Xfinity guys, see how their tire wear is going to have, and if there's any at all, and how they want to approach Sunday. It's really going to come down to fuel mileage. I think it's going to come down. How quick do you want to do like a short pit? Come in when the first fuel window opens up, or do you want to risk staying out? Cautions likely won't happen unless somebody gets stuck. So there's a lot of strategy in Sonoma, and this is probably my favorite road course that they've had. I like it more in Watkins Glen. You got more elevation changes. It's just, I don't know. I've always enjoyed it. I've like this and Watkins Glen. I mean, that's the OGs in the sport. So Sonoma is definitely a really neat layout how they have it.
Yeah, it's pretty, like you say, with the elevation changes. I don't remember who was talking about. I think it was Michael Waltrip talking about one time running Sonoma, coming up over the one hill, and he had a landmark key and it was somebody's motorhome. Well, I guess the guy left early, comes out the next lap, the motorhome's gone.
Oh,
It's like, oh man. So I don't know if it was like when you saw the motorhome, that was kind of a breaking point
yeah.
or what it was, but he was, using a landmark. It's like, I guess I should have picked something that didn't move.
Well, the biggest passing zone is the final corner. It's very, very tight right turn to come to the finish. You see tons of bump and runs that if in the past you've seen Tony Stewart get his final win on Sonoma, and I think this could really play a big factor. AJ Allmendinger's racing in this race again. I don't know if Shane's racing in this for the Cup Series. I didn't see all of the entry list. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if they're
it's
going
very
to have
possible.
yeah, I'm sure you'll see
He
a couple
didn't he
other
didn't
road
show up
course
in
ringers
the
in it.
fantasy standings, so
Yeah.
I did look for
So,
it.
all right. Well, before we get into our fantasy, definitely, you guys probably seen me sipping on this, but W Energy now finally has cans they have released, and so this is a small business out of California, and I've got one of the first shipments of their canned energy drinks. You can go check them out at w.gg, and you can check out all their other products. Right now, they are sold out of the cans, but they'll be back before you know it. Check out their other stuff. Use my discount code ZBHP. You'll get 10% off for your order, which is basically free shipping. Support this business. They've got really good stuff. My wife's one of the pickiest drinkers that you can have, and she likes this, so it's really fantastic. So check them out, support them. They've got energy and hydration things. They also got t-shirts, all that fun stuff on their website. So check them out. You can get 10% off if you use my discount code. Let's get into our fantasy picks now. All right, so our NASCAR fantasy picks and lineups for Sonoma this week. I'll go through my starters this week, trying to use some people that you won't usually see in these. So that does help a lot because you have drivers like Allmendinger, some road course ringers that are in here now. So that helps you not have to use the same drivers all the time. So my starters this week are I'm going with the guy that is going to probably try to get his win here at Sonoma and get all the road course wins finally. I've got Chase Elliott in my lineup. Michael McDowell's in my lineup. Great road course racer. AJ Allmendinger. Need I say more about that one? Daniel Suarez. He's won at Sonoma before. He's a really good road course racer. And Tyler Reddick is my other one. That's turning out to be a really fantastic road course racer as well. And in my garage, I have Martin Truex Jr. And that's we were talking about the 4-time winner at Sonoma, the most of the active drivers. And in the feature matchups this week, they have Ty Gibbs versus Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch's luck has been terrible this year, and he even crashed at a tire test at Indy. I didn't even talk about either. So he's just worst luck, just the worst. I've got Ty Gibbs in this one. He's very good overall. He's running pretty consistently for his second year in the Cup Series. Austin Cindric versus Ross Chastain. This is a little trickier because Cindric does have the momentum and he is a pretty solid road course racer, but I like Ross Chastain a little bit more on this one. I think Trackhouse will have a pretty decent outing at Sonoma. Chase Elliott versus Tyler Reddick. I have both of these in my lineup, so I was like, which one do I go with? I do have Tyler Reddick. He's more consistent on the road courses as of late than Chase, so we'll see how that goes. And Daniel Suarez versus Michael McDowell. Again, I have both of these in my lineup. I've actually got Michael McDowell a slight edge over Daniel Suarez in this one. And the good bets they have this week are Truex, Kyle Busch. Don't believe that because it's just bad luck that he's had. It says avoid Denny Hamlin. You can bet on Denny Hamlin pretty much every week. He's going to be consistent. Keselowski, I think just momentum is a big deal in all this stuff.
Yeah,
so
he's not a bad road racer. I mean,
no,
shoot.
and they said sleeper. Hey, this is the most common sleeper of NASCAR. It's Chris Buescher. All right, go ahead with your lineup.
All right. Well, I don't have a whole lot of chance of making up any ground on you this week. So in my lineup, I have Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Austin Cindric, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, and in my garage, I have Daniel Suarez.
Okay.
In our feature matchups, I do have Ty Gibbs over Kyle Busch. I have Austin Cindric over Ross Chastain. Chase Elliott over Tyler Reddick, and Michael McDowell over Daniel Suarez.
Well, it's going to basically come down to the matchups, it seems like.
Yeah, it seems
You
like
and
I'll
I are
suck.
really close. We are both almost equally as far behind Mom. So it's really coming down. Who's going to get last place in fantasy this year? She's probably going to have literally her lineup's probably going to be the entire top 5. And she's going to have
Yep,
all the matchups
generally
ready.
is.
She needs to post this stuff because sports gamblers are going to love that. All right, that does it for our fantasy lineup. So let's give our picks for Sonoma in the Xfinity and Cup Series. Who do you have for the Xfinity?
Well, this guy has led everything you could possibly do and has really have the wins to show for it. So I think he gets it done this week. I got Justin Allgaier for Xfinity.
I was looking at him, but I've actually got his teammate, very, very good road racer. I've got Sam Mayer.
He is a good road racer.
In the Cup Series, who do you got?
So we were talking about him earlier, going to get his first Sonoma win. I got Chase Elliott for this one, and Mom picks William Byron for this one.
All right. Well, I've got one of the best road course racers that they have in the garage right now. I've got Tyler Reddick as the winner in the Cup Series.
This episode is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a live entertainment platform rethinking ticketing by caring more about their fans, teams, and venues. They are powering a new open entertainment industries where fans have effortless access to experiences in teams, venues, and shows, and have seamless access to their audiences. With trusted consumer marketplace and innovative enterprise ticketing technology, SeatGeek has what you need for any sporting event. Make sure you use my promo code ZBMedia to get $20 off your purchase from SeatGeek. That is ZBMEDIA from SeatGeek, $20 off. You can't beat that. Check them out now. Get your next concert, sporting event, or anything else from SeatGeek. Back to the show.
All right, let's get into some IndyCar action, and let's talk about what happened up at Detroit. I got my pick right. I was on a roll this week with some picks.
You were on. You had a good week for picks.
Yeah, I very shocked. Scott Dixon comes away with the win at Detroit, and now he is now the points leader in IndyCar. What's that mean? Well, once he gets a points lead, it's going to be hard to take it back from him. He knows how to get it done. He's got 6 championships. He's looking for that coveted 7th championship. So taking that points lead already, and he gets some more consistent basis going on another road course this weekend. I mean, he's good pretty much everywhere you go anyways. It doesn't really matter. Detroit was a pretty good show. The first, I think it was the first turn. We talked about it. That was probably the biggest passing zone that you could have, and people just hauled ass into that corner. And sometimes it made it stick, sometimes it didn't, and they just ran into the wall. So that made for some good excitement up. I like that little street course they have at Detroit.
It's tight.
It's good for those cars though, because they run the hell out of that thing, and I'm like, damn, I couldn't even blink. You know, like you literally can't blink in those. Talking about like Formula One going through this stuff now. These drivers. By the way, Joseph Newgarden was talking a little bit of shit on the Formula One guys because they asked him, "Hey, do you think you could race in a Formula One race or win in Formula One race?" He's like, "Yeah, all of us could." So that was a little bit of shit talk there. I like Detroit. I like that street course. I like the street courses that they have for IndyCar, not so much for NASCAR, but it is more traditional for the IndyCar. And these cars are kind of built for that as well. Yeah. And this week they're actually shying away from the street course and they're actually heading to a traditional road course, a very, very big road course, if you will. Road America. NASCAR's gone away from it this year, but this is a humongous road course.
4 mile, 14 turn, 4 mile road circuit.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to go around.
They only run 55 laps, but it's 220 miles. So that's it's neat. It's pretty up there. The track's pretty narrow actually. It's going through, but I mean it's like they carved it out through a forest or something. There's trees just everywhere, and it's kind of a pretty track. These cars will race fine on it. The Cup cars are just that was boring. That was a dumb experiment they tried for that one, especially on 4th of July weekend.
Kind of like Chicago, but no, we'll get that. But Yeah. Road America, I'm sure, is going to put another good show. And this is, I didn't realize IndyCar went 3 weeks in a row, and it's kind of
Yeah,
not
that's
really
unheard of
what
for
they
those
do.
guys. So
They have a little bit of a break until they come back in action in a couple weeks, but this is their third in a row. They're not really used to doing all this, so you could see possible some um,
fatigue.
fatigue. I was gonna say stamina. I'm thinking like stats and damn Madden. Yeah, fatigue could play a factor in this. You might see some drivers that you're not used to seeing play a little bit of a steal and try to take a win from in Road America. So we'll see what happens. Let's give our picks for Road America for IndyCars. Who do you got?
So I don't know. It seems like either Scott Dixon or
Hello.
yeah, but I'm gonna go out in different way. We're gonna go back to Team Penske. Yeah, I got Joseph Newgarden.
Okay, he's pretty good everywhere.
Yeah,
I went a completely different route too. I'm kind of taking a shot in the dark a little bit, but he was pretty good until he wrecked out at Detroit. I got Rinus VK in this one.
okay. I thought you were gonna say like Colton Herta.
No. VK was running top 5, and I think he actually made a mistake getting into the corner and ended up breaking himself and a couple others. But he was running top 5, so yeah, let's kind of take a little bit of a dark horse there. I swear, if my picks between this and what we're getting into now, NHRA is as good, because NHRA is back in action again. They're in back-to-back weeks, and you don't see that often for them either. So NHRA last week up in New Hampshire, up in the New England area. Well, I don't even know. I went British there. You had Doug Coletta, John Force, and I had both of those right. And Dallas Glenn actually just barely beat Erica in the Pro Stocks. I would have had a clean sweep if Erica would have won. But very good racing up in New Hampshire. All of these finals were great drag racing. They went right. Both cars went down. Nobody screwed up the start. Nobody spun the tire. No one blew up. It was fantastic. And shout out to Tony Schumacher making a final again. I mean, he's starting to be like a guy that we didn't expect at all to be talking about this year. And all of a sudden, he's coming out and being as consistent as anybody. So you're talking about who can win in these series. Literally anybody now.
Yeah, out of the 16, there's probably 12 that have a legitimate shot at winning that thing. The one that's struggling a lot, that's really surprising, is Steve Torrance. That's
yeah, you haven't really seen him too much. You keep picking him, and it's not working.
Yeah, I know he keeps letting me down. But one interesting thing, I don't know if you saw it, but John Force named his replacement when he finally decided to retire of Austin Prock. So
yeah,
to me, that sounds like Robert Height is going to be coming back maybe next year.
Maybe. John Force ain't gonna retire. John Force ain't gonna retire. He's too damn stubborn to retire.
Shoot, he's still winning. Why would you?
His interview was funny. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna try to shut up here, but let me say that.
Yeah. He's like, how'd I do?
Heading from New Hampshire, going into Thunder Valley, Bristol, Tennessee. And this is literally inside the Coliseum, I believe, right?
No, it's alongside.
I stand corrected.
But it's definitely up in the mountains, and I bet the sound up there, and that's why they call it Thunder Valley, echoing off those mountains. I bet is pretty wild. So you're going from sea level at Epic, New Hampshire, up into the mountains of Tennessee. So there's where you're going. This tuning is going to come into a little harder to make power. And we're talking June in Tennessee in the mountains. Weather could be an issue.
It's been humid as hell down here in the South. So, it's blah. It's what today
But,
felt
but also it takes us some rain, and all of a sudden you lose half your, they run 4 qualifying runs. You rain out one night, you lose half your qualifying runs. So you better make sure you get a good run in when you can do it, because you might not have 4 chances to make the show.
I didn't see. Are the motorcycles racing in this one?
They are.
They are? Okay. Well, I mean, we don't have to ever talk about. I mean, we will talk about the pick, but we both have the same pick on that. Doesn't matter. I don't even need to look at any of that. It doesn't matter where they race. But the crazy thing is, and the interesting thing is for this race is that you have 1 week turnaround and going from, again, you were saying sea level up into a mountain level. They're completely different elevations, and you got a quick turnaround on these cars.
I don't think the turnaround on these guys is such a big deal, being they rebuild the thing.
Well,
Every,
I get that. They just don't always race back to back weeks.
no, so they're being most of them are based out of the Indianapolis area. I'm going to assume they probably all went back to Indy before heading into Tennessee, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It's not like when they all head west and they got to make sure they have enough parts and everything, because they don't go back and forth.
Yeah, and the couple Mooresville teams, they went back here, and it's not bad of drives,
Yeah.
like 3 hours or whatever to get to Tennessee. It's not that big of a deal to drive there. They're actually probably on the way as we're speaking right now, heading to Tennessee. Yeah, we'll see how everything plays a factor here. You could potentially see pop-up storms because mountain weather is completely different than anything. If anybody doesn't know, it can rain 5 minutes and then it'll
If you don't
flood.
like the weather, wait 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, when it rains, it's kind of like how Florida goes too. It's like, hey, we're gonna just pour down rain and then it'll stop. It'll have a flash flood for a little bit, then it'll be beautiful. And the humidity though will go instantly away. That's how the mountains go. It's weird. So we'll see how it goes. Should be another. I'm expecting another great sets of racing up for this year, for this week. This year's been fantastic so far, and we haven't, besides motorcycles, we haven't been like, oh, this guy won again, this guy won
Yeah.
again. No, this has been good. So let's give our picks. I guess I'll go ahead first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get away. Let's get our motorcycle pick out of the way. It's Gage Herrera.
No.
I assume that's who you got. Yeah. I'm sticking with homegirl who I've been sticking with this year. It's been pretty much working for me. I've got Erica Enders in Pro Stock. There seems to be really three people in Pro Stock that's kind of come out to between her, Dallas Glenn, and Greg Anderson in general. For the whoa, for the funny cars, I've got Matt Hagan in this one. I was thinking maybe John could get back to back or Austin Prock, but I feel like Matt Hagan hasn't won in like 2 weeks, so I feel like he gets to do for another one. And I've got a guy who just ran runner up New Hampshire in the Top Fuel, and he's been very good this year. And teams are making a lot of power, making good runs. I've got Tony Schumacher.
Okay. So other than the pro stock classes, I got a little bit of a shake up. So I got Gage Herrera, Erica Anders for pro stock. So funny car, I have J.R. Todd.
Okay.
And top fuel, my pick is Justin Ashley.
All right. All right. Heading into our dirt racing segment this week, let's start it off by shouting out the 69K team in Pennsylvania for giving Pop a amazing birthday weekend. On his birthday, you had none other than Darren Pittman coming into Williams Grove, getting a big win for Pop's birthday, his 90th birthday, still winning races, still having winning cars, working on the cars, and backing it up Saturday, Logan Wagner getting a win at Port Royal. So what a birthday weekend for him.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Last time Darren Pittman was in a car was the National Open last October or whenever they run that. So he jumped right into the car and he was fast right off the bat. It looks like he is going to be running a handful of races. I think next week they are actually going out to Knoxville to get some laps in before going to the Nationals.
That'd be awesome.
But if you have not seen the replay of Port Royal, watch it.
Hell of a race.
Like Logan Wagner was nowhere to be found, and all of a sudden, 10 laps to go, he found the top, and I mean top of the top. He was against that wall. And when he got into second place, he was 4 seconds behind Lance DeWeese with, I don't know, 7, 8 laps to go. I'm thinking, there's no way he's going to catch him. He ran him down in 2. I mean, it was unbelievable. He was like,
and he checked out then. It was gone.
Yeah, it was crazy how fast. Actually, when he caught Lance put it into it. I don't know if Lance thought he might have had that one or had a bigger lead than he thought he did. But Lance sort of put it into another gear there too. You know, Lance is kind of good at Port Royal.
Unofficially, a statement made by Pop was that's what running the shit out of the car is.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So,
no question. Logan Wagner that was cool.
well, there was a lot of motivation to do well this weekend. It was big time birthday weekend. I mean, not a lot of people get to turn 90 and still work on race cars. So
Yeah,
that was
two
definitely
nights a
incredible
week
to see.
at the.
Yeah, that was definitely awesome to see. It's not his first one they've ever had on his birthday because they've had plenty of them before.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that was definitely something special. So definitely cool to see that. Definitely wanted to shout out that entire team starting off our dirt racing segment. But heading into high limit, we were touching on high limit outlaws. So the high limit at Grandview, Brent Marks passes Tyler Courtney on a last lap pass. It was a fantastic race at Grandview. Grandview's been putting on really good races for the high limit series. Crowd was incredible, like we predicted, and the track just looked really good. Your cue. You can go. You can talk about it.
Oh, I actually didn't even see that one. I didn't realize you were talking about me.
Yeah,
I got a cat out here freaking out on the side. Sorry.
it's okay. I got a kid freaking out. So yeah.
But yeah, Grandview puts a good show on with the sprint cars, even if it's just a regular like Pennsylvania Speed Week show. It's a nice track. It's a racy track for the sprint cars. You know, the fans they don't normally see them but a few times a year, so they definitely come out for the sprint.
Well,
So it's nice to see that track, especially being it was on the brink of being a
I want
junkyard or something.
I would argue that between All Stars going back there and then High Limit kick starting their stuff these past couple years, I think that's really helped save that track as well. I mean that crowd was awesome there.
Yeah.
Brent Marks getting win, definitely a popular win there, Pennsylvania guy. So. And I honestly, I think Tyler Courtney's a popular win if that happens too. I think he's got a lot of fans in the PA Posse area as well. That was the midweek money series, and still Tyler Courtney edges ever so slightly over Brent Marks,
Brad Sweet.
over Brad Sweet and Brent Marks. Brent Marks is third in the midweek money series. And heading to Lawrenceburg, Kyle Larson gets over his little funk that he's been in and gets a big time win. That once he was rolling, once he got a lead,
he kind of stunk the race for the lead wasn't very the battle for second, third, fourth. That was a good battle going between Rico and Justin. Justin Peck's starting to get going here now a little bit on these slick, Western PA, Indiana, Ohio tracks.
Is it getting a little too late for championship thing? Probably, because I think you've got 3 championship favorites between the midweek money and the regular season. If you got between Brent Marks, Brad Sweet, Tyler Courtney, I think in both of those, that's who it's going to come down to. And Butler, they had a rain out on Saturday, so they made up for it on Sunday, and they were going to race the midweek this week, and that actually just rained out as well yesterday. But McFadden beats out Brad Sweet at Butler on Sunday after it rained out on Saturday.
I didn't even realize they raced on Sunday. I knew they rained out Saturday, so I missed that one.
Well, I had McFadden for Lawrenceburg, and he flipped like 45 times. Car caught on fire, random thing, and then he just comes back and wins. Yeah, I didn't pick him for Butler. So now they're heading to a doubleheader this weekend at I-70 Speedway, Friday and Saturday night, and then they've got a midweek.
Friday, isn't it?
Looks like I thought it was 2 nights. I thought that it said 7th and 8th.
Oh, did it? I only saw the 7th.
The next race is the 7th, and you just need to scroll down.
Oh, that might have been what I saw.
And
next event. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah,
that's weird. Only had
and
one.
then they go to Eagle Raceway for the midweek money next week. So let's get into I-70 and talk about that.
Let me get to my notes here. I-70. That's the Race Rudine Foundation race. So that's sponsors for Zebwise. It's it's a bigger track. It gets dry and dusty. Wasn't surprised to see the former All-Star guys having a good race. Being it's a sponsors race, you kind of think maybe Zebwise might be up on the wheel a little harder. I just right now. I just
He's
don't
just
think
been
he's fast
struggling.
enough. He's struggling, which is a little bit surprising. But if there's a race that he could turn around, would be this race. But I think you're going to see the normal guys.
Well,
creep out
from what I could see, this track is a pretty wide track. There's a lot of
it's
lanes
real
that you
wide.
can race in, so it should get pretty racy. And I think it's going to come down to those guys that really have been succeeding on the bigger racetracks that could
It
really.
seems like the top is generally the fastest way, and to pass somebody, you're going to do slide jobs, which makes it, as a fan, that makes it exciting. It's
And you might not have as much issues with lap traffic. It's not that small of a track to get to it. You might have some, but I think it's going to be more. You're going to have to try to make your moves, and
the track races a little bit like Port Royal. In my opinion, just the kind of watching the replay from last year.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, let's give our two picks Friday and Saturday night. I know you kind of had to make one on the fly there, but for night one, who do you got?
My pick is Corey Day for night one.
Okay, and who's your night two?
And I'm going to take sort of relatively low-hanging fruit here. I got Sunshine Tyler Courtney.
Well, I've got Sunshine for night one on this one. And night two, Brad Sweet doesn't really run. No, I gave the pick. Brad Sweet is my pick for night two. He doesn't really run this track too often, but I think you give him a night to kind of figure it out. Night two, you might see him dominate on the second night.
Yeah. Brad Sweet has been a little bit more inconsistent than maybe he has been against the Outlaws. So I don't know if some of these tracks
still the points leader.
Normally,
he's still the points leader.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, but you know what I mean. You kind of thought maybe he would just sort of take control and run away with the whole thing, but he's really not.
It's still virtually anybody's championship to take. So Eagle Raceway for midweek money series on this one. Talk about that one for Tuesday.
Oh heck, I missed that one. Wow, I didn't do too good in this week.
Well, from what watching this one, they raced this one a few times. I think this was actually one of the first midweek money series that they had in high limit. Puts on a great show. It's a smaller track, gets very slick, gets very dusty, but there's multiple grooves, and you'll see a lot of
Nebraska.
Yep, you'll see a lot of corners where they'll diamond it, and basically what that means, you go in high, cut down low, shoot off the corner to get a run down the straightaway. You'll see that play a factor in this one. A lot of drivers were battling for really second place last time they raced there. I think Rico edged out Kyle Larson, and there was like a group of like 5 going for like third up to second. It was very exciting. I expect nothing less. Lap traffic is going to play a factor in this one, as small as it is, and they get around there really freaking fast. I don't know what the lap times are there, but I know it's not a slow track. It's going to put on a good show.
Just looking at it real quick, it actually reminds me a bit of Grandview. Just they normally run like a modified there, so
yeah.
The sprint cars seem to run pretty good on those modified tracks. They're generally a little bit wider.
Yeah, I think it's going to put on another good show. Since I'll give you a second to kind of review who you want for this one, but this guy's run here very well, and it's probably I guess, sort of a dark horse for this one, considering who you got running in the high limit series. But I've got Anthony Macri for Eagle Raceway.
I'm going to take the real low hanging fruit. I'm going to pick Kyle Larson on this one.
He should be racing, I would assume.
If Larson don't race, my pick switches to Rico.
Okay, so you're just either, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. So finishing up our final segment is for series, the World of Outlaws. They only raced one. Well, they raced at Fremont, and then they raced at Beaver Dam, and Beaver Dam had a washout on everywhere. It had a washout on Saturday. But the Beaver Dam winner, the Beaver winner, was Sheldon Hautenshield, and he gets that win.
That's because I didn't pick him.
Yeah, so that's what I was actually about to say. But finishing off that, they're heading into River Cities, and the Big O is back. I'm happy. The Big O
Ogilvy
Showdown.
Raceway.
Mm-hmm. All right, talk about River Cities first.
All right. Friday night, River Cities. It's in Grand Forks, North Dakota. It's the Don Mack Classic. I don't know who that is, but obviously he's important out there. It's an interesting track. They label it as a 3/10 of a mile track. It's a quarter mile on the inside fence and 3/10 on the outside. So we're talking, and it's high bank. It is super fast. The track record is set, I didn't put a year, by Jason Myers. It's 9.269 seconds
Holy sh!
at almost 117 miles an hour.
That's freaking moving.
Yeah, that is like blink and you're already at the end. You're right in the next corner. I mean, that's crazy. So if that track's right, it is going to be fast. And 24-ish cars on that little of a track going that quick, shit's about to go down. I think you're going to see a couple of red flags throughout this one, just because there's just going to be just traffic everywhere. This one's going to be exciting. I'm glad I got Dirt Vision for this one. I want to see this one.
It's going to be I think it's going to be one of the most experienced guys that's going to have to come away with this one and to be able to slice and dice through the lap traffic, and you've also got to kind of draw right too. Hopefully, we'll see how all that goes. Let's give our pick for River Cities, then we'll get into the best naming race in the entire world. So, your pick for River Cities.
So you were saying about experience and being there in North Dakota, you want to think Donnie Schatz. I don't see him being that great on this track. Just as hard you got to run it. So I'm going to go a little different. I got Buddy Kofoid on this one. Okay. He will run the crap out of that car for sure.
Well, they all will. Let's be honest.
Yeah, those guys are kind of good.
Now, Donnie Schatz's going to win for sure now that you just talk shit about him.
Nah, it'll be Shelton. I didn't pick him.
My pick for River City is the lowest hanging fruit of them all. I've got David Gravel. Like I said, you want somebody that can run the shit out of it and be smart about running it, and then also you probably got to be a little bit dirty running it. He might have to run some people off the track a little bit too. David Gravel can do a little bit of all of it.
Yep. Yeah, he's not afraid to do that. That's for sure.
All right. The Big O Showdown. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Ogilvy Raceway and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Ogilvy, Minnesota.
Yeah, you like that track. It sounds like it should be in like Louisiana or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, but it's not.
But it's a high bank 3/8 mile track, and it's fast for a 3/8 mile. The track record was set last year by Carson Macedo at 11.743 seconds.
Yeah, he had a lot of success there last year. He dominated.
Yeah. Which
I think
that's my pick.
Okay, cool. Carson Macedo's your pick. This guy actually ran really well there last year. This was a race where it was like battle for second place, and it was a hell of a battle for second place. The guy was up there too, shaking it out. My dark horse from the beginning of the year, I got Hot Sauce Giovanni Scelzi.
I was actually thinking of picking him for
he's due for another win.
Friday night race.
He's definitely due for another win, I think. So
yeah,
look for him. He's creeping around there. All right, so our top 5 segment is back this week. Our top 5 coolest trophies in motorsports, according to obviously the professionals here.
This was tougher than I thought it was going to be.
There's a lot of cool ass trophies, and some of them I kind of went like iconic. How cool it is to win these. Let me go first because I'm excited.
Yeah, go ahead.
My number, it's not really a particular, top 2 there. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's that order. But starting at 5, going up, number 5, I've got the Martinsville Grandfather Clock. And just winning that, you win a freaking clock, and as historic as it is, it's and you can see what it means to win this for the drivers. You saw that with Junior when he finally got a win at Martinsville. It just means a lot more winning this trophy. It's really cool. I mean, it's like a kind of a classic grandfather clock, but you win it from a freaking racetrack, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be up on there.
Yeah, originally they were built just down the street from the racetrack, but
and I don't know if there's a specific.
Are.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a specific name for the grandfather clock. I'm not exactly sure.
It's just the brand who makes them. I don't remember who it is.
And I don't know the name of this trophy either. But number 4, I've got the Weichert Memorial Trophy. It's a bull. It's a freaking was a bronze bull, I believe.
Looked like it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's a heavy ass trophy too. But it's
that
really cool.
The coolest sprint car trophy going. Most of them are just regular traditional trophies. They might be really tall, but that one's pretty badass.
And it's going to be on the screen for you guys. It's really neat if you've never seen it before. And I didn't really think about it until watching the Weichert, and you see Double D gets the win. It's like, oh yeah, that trophy's damn cool. It's just neat. It's just neat. You have to have a dirt trophy up there. Number 3, the Bill France Cup. That is the newest Cup Series championship trophy, and I think it is a phenomenal trophy. I didn't really care for what they had during like the Chase and the Nextel Cup. All that stuff was just like a folded up flag. It wasn't a cup. This is a big ass cup. It's a big,
with all the tracks on the side of it. It's cool.
It's so cool. It is awesome. NASCAR's done a swing and a miss on most things this past decade, but this was definitely a home run. It's one of the coolest trophies. It is huge. I think it's bigger than Larson. And number 2, I've got the Harley J. Earl Trophy, the Daytona 500 Trophy. That's just a classic, awesome trophy. Heavy as shit. Most drivers can't really lift it up. They'll struggle a little bit, and everybody strives to get that one. Daytona 500, one of the biggest races in motorsports. And number 1, we saw it from a distance, but we saw it. The Borg Warner Trophy, the Indianapolis 500 trophy for the winner of the Indianapolis 500. Trophy hasn't changed too much besides new engravings of people's faces on it each and every year. I think that makes it ever so special, and it is massive. It's a very, very big trophy.
Keeps getting more bigger. They keep having to put more faces on it. So
yeah, it's like, well,
it's like 5 feet tall.
Well, they didn't have to change the face too on this one since Joseph won. I think they added for the different year though.
He'll be on there twice.
Yeah, they'll just copy and paste him. Yeah, so that's my 5. I don't know if there really gets a much cooler than that Indy 500 trophy. So what's your list?
So I went a little different on this one. So at number 5, there's nothing overly special about it, but it's been around for a long time. I have the NHRA Wally that you get for.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of it was tough. I mean, there were so many trophies that were really cool. But that one was like, I wanted something a little different that maybe you don't think about as much, but those Wallies are for, winning your first one is always super special for those guys. They get very emotional for it. So that's pretty awesome to have that. At number 4, I have the Bill France Cup for that one. That's just a cool ass trophy. That was, that was badass. At number 3, the guitar from Nashville Super Speedway.
Oh, that's cool.
I think I was like, that is just something really different, than Kyle Busch had.
You mean that Kyle Busch that smashed it that one year?
Yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah.
At number 2, we had this one on our list. I had the grandfather clock from Martinsville. That's just freaking cool. There was some of them like the lobster from New Hampshire. I'm like, that's different, but that's just gross. But at number 1, no trophy more iconic than the Borg Warner Trophy from Indianapolis 500. That one's badass. But the Daytona 500 trophy should be on there.
It's hard, yeah.
The cactus from Phoenix could be on. That thing's cool.
Yeah.
I forget the one where was the eagle. Was that Pocono? It was the bald eagle in the American flag.
So,
it's like, man, there was some really, really cool.
Yeah, there's tons of cool trophies, and I'm sure there's some probably dirt trophies that we're not really thinking of right now. So you guys let us know in the comments and show us a picture of the trophy that you think is the coolest, and we'll definitely check it out. I'm all for seeing all these cool trophies in motorsports, and it can be literally any racing. If you want to go throw a horse racing trophy on there, I don't know what they look like. So, but yeah, throw that on there. If you've got pig racing, cool, do that. But yeah, show us, let us know what trophies you kind of like. It's hard. It just kind of, it's our opinion. So let us know what you think. I don't know if there's really going to be any cooler than the Borg Warner. So that's just a badass trophy, and it's the most traditional trophy that you get out of anywhere. So I don't think that one's
of winners on that trophy. That's
it's badass. It's definitely badass. And so yeah, let us know if this trophy's in motorsports, by the way. So yeah, just let us know what trophies if you have a local track that gives away a cool ass trophy too, send a picture in on that too.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that does it this week. We'll wait another week for another top 5 while I ponder some ideas and all that stuff. But make sure you guys share this and like it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow anywhere you get your podcast. Follow all social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, formerly known as Twitter, the Elon Musk mobile app thing. And we'll be back at it again next week. We actually might be doing an episode together next week.
Yeah,
so
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, we'll probably do one together. I'll be down there next week. So until then, guys, make sure you comment down below on all this stuff. So we'll see you then.
All right. See you next week, Zach.